Hey, so last week we spoke a lot about Rachel Ziegler. If you don't know, she's basically the one who is supposedly going to play Snow White next year. She was coming up a lot on the internet, and if you did watch the whole decode, you would have saw that it was equaling 734, as you can see. Oh, let's go back here. 734, Rachel Zegler, and then also we've got XRP dump at 734. If you were paying attention to the markets, you would have saw what had happened. But welcome everybody. My name is Kelita Sahliah if you're new, and this is the Crypto Angles podcast number 21. So over here we combine astronomy and astrology together to interpret our astrology. Basically, we use the visible sky instead of mainstream astrology, and we see how it may impact the crypto market. So my name is Kelita Sahliah if you are new. I'm a mother, an angel, and I also dabble in crypto. So here we are. And for those who are new as well, sometimes we'll touch on Gematria, then we'll go over the astrological story, and then we touch on the technical analysis of Bitcoin, XRP, and the DXY. Last week I touched on XLM and Floki as well, but this week we are just focusing on the three because obviously of what had came up. She was all over social media, like a lot was happening. She was kind of rude with what she was talking about. So basically she had her limelight in the world stage, so because of that I knew there was something else being said here, and of course it was actually this. This was something that come up. We had a lot more come up as well. Like, don't be surprised if you hear more of Stormzy coming up during this time whilst this is being released. Yeah, like Stormzy is one of them, the Island Boys and all of that. But go and watch that video last week to yeah, watch that because I speak about it more. But what am I seeing this week anyway, based on astrology? So this is August. If you would like this calendar, it is available. You can grab it. It is on Etsy right here. There's digital and physical copies available. So this is in alignment with the visible sky. The links are in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into what is happening this week. And it is just this little one here, Mercury station retrograde in Leo on the 23rd. So that is all that's happening. As you can see, just after a week after the no moon, new moon in Leo. So Mercury's retrograding, and this shift in energy happening here, transition in energy. So we're here, we are on the 20th by the time you're watching this. Mercury's retrograding. So how am I seeing that could impact the crypto market? So Mercury is based around monetary exchange anyway. Mercury is the messenger. And it's time to retrograde. So Mercury retrogrades like 3 to 4 times a year. It dances around the sun, bringing messages forward and backward from the sun. So it covers any type of energetic exchange. This is why when Mercury is retrograding and you have any form of energetic exchange, communication, or anything like that, things can mess up, or you can have miscommunication at times, because it's all about this energetic exchange. So this as well is about how we're ready to exchange our money too. So it's how we're ready to interact with our money, etc. And what's happening, retrogrades always offer a going back, a looking over, sometimes a slowing down, or a redoing of what you've done before, and doing it like a different way, either adding to it, improving that type of energetic exchange, or redoing it, doing it better. Like, you're rethinking how are you going to exchange your energy. So this is big around money at the moment. Okay, it's big around money, and yeah, it's big around money. We'll be thinking a lot of how we truly want to exchange and give our energy. How do we truly want to communicate? What are the things we actually want to give our energetic exchange, our attention to this is what's going to happen round about now. So when it comes to money, we're going to be thinking a lot of, there has been a correction in the market. We're going to be thinking more of what's the next move in this market, potentially, where you're going to go. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Also, because it's based on money, and like anything that didn't get done, maybe during this time, targets may be reached, or even like lower lows. I was kind of going back and back testing for XRP. I like to do them separately because they show different things. For XRP retrogrades, and majority of them, unless there has been like a big correction, the majority of retrogrades are kind of negative. It's either just standard or negative. However, when there is a big correction, like what has just happened, because we had this happening and the whole market, but let's be real, if we look at it, this has fallen like a lot. Yeah, forgive me, I've forgotten my point. I was in the middle of talking and I forgot my point. Like I said, I realized I've got ADHD. Anyway, let's move on to that's what I'm seeing here for the Mercury retrograde. When I watch this video back, that little line I was saying, I'll write it in the comments with whatever I was saying, because I feel it was important, but it's just gone out of my head. Anyway, we're getting this shift of energy as well. The new moons, like I said, I was a kind of assuming price would have been pulled up rather than to the resistance, rather than where it was, that being the resistance, and dropping the price down with this new moon. But anyway, price is definitely bottoming out, and as we get around here, this whole energy, we want to find the bottom, because I'm seeing this maybe like the last, like, probably not a high percentage, but more of a percentage where the market may move like into September, and then like a further correction. Not further correction, but a further completing its bottom structure for continuation. So that's kind of what I'm potentially seeing. It's like this energetic exchange is going to be focused a lot on our money. So this is why I'm picking up on a potential like upward movement, only because there has been quite it's been rapid going down. So there may be just that upward movement, especially around about this full moon in Aquarius. I'll speak more about it next week, depending how this week pans out. But that's kind of how I'm seeing, especially with Uranus and Scorpio being here. But I'll talk about that next week. Stick around if you're interested. But that's what I'm seeing, this energetic exchange, this transition in energy happening then. So price wants to make sure it's finding its bottom and it's fully found. Yeah, around about this whole full moon, and this could be the one to extend it into September, and then we're finding lows again to finish off the lows. But we'll see. We'll see. I wasn't expecting it to go down as much as it did, but as I said, this happened and it come up, which is telling me to pay just even more attention, because I'm like, oh, is this happening later? Maybe when, once the movie has released, could it like fully dump? But no, it was now. So when I do more of these decodes, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. I was seeing it going down in the technical analysis, but just not as low as 42. So that's interesting. We are going to move on to the TA right now. So we just go to Bitcoin, go to the daily, go to the daily on our BTC. It's not going to be the longest video today, because all that's happening is Mercury stationing retrograde. Yeah, so as I was saying, the Mercury retrogrades, like, usually they're either standard or negative, but because we've seen a correction at the end of this Mercury retrograde, which finishes September, the stations direct the 15th of September. So this is where I'm like, oh, because we've had such this big correction, could we finish the retrograde in more of a positive place before a next correction? Because that's what I've noticed. We often finish we finish positive after or during a retrograde once we've had a correction. But if we kind of haven't, we've just been going sideways or something, then sometimes it could end negative or it's just ranging. But because we've had this is kind of indicator maybe by September the 15th. Where is that? Where's September the 15th? It's about here. Yeah, it's about there. So probably by then we've recovered. So if I just put a line, this is testing it out, people. It's just a theory. Okay, it's testing it out. But if, I don't know, probably touch on, no, that's nothing. This line here is nothing. Maybe I can get rid of that now. But I don't know. Do you think we could easily wick down to 24? Do you think? I'm not throwing it out the cards, you know. No, maybe not. Maybe that's a wild fetch. But I don't know, we could potentially by the 15th have recovered. That would be nice to see, because like on the daily we are heavily oversold. That does look like it could drop down one more leg. That's why if it does, I just wouldn't be surprised if we wick off this 24,000 region, because as well Pluto and Mercury are here. Uranus is at the top. That's what we got pushed down by on the daily. So that's going to be interesting. We're also below the 200 moving averages too, but we are heavily oversold. So I just don't know how long this is going to last. Yeah, and it's like even here's more, it's like here we're dangling, you know what I mean? There's a little resistance, I guess, but we're still dangling. We're just dangling. So if Bitcoin wants to go a little further, I wouldn't be surprised. And like I says, because we're still trying to bottom out in this whole time, we're still trying to bottom out, or to secure the bottom for continuation upwards. And again, it's kind of like how it's dropped under the RSI. It's looking like even on the 4 hour, it wants to do a potential like drop lower, but we'll only see on the smaller time frame. So let's take a look for right now. But as you can see, it's just hovering nowhere. And I'm really, it just wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me, especially if it does that before Mercury fully kicks in. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all. Let's check on the hourly. We want to see what it's doing right now. So on the hour, it looks like it's getting rejected off the 50 on the RSI. So again, it's like it's done its one little bit here. I really feel it wants to just go whoop and then come back up. That's what I'm thinking for Bitcoin. We're going to go as small as, let's do 30 minutes. It's saying the same thing. Yeah, it's looking even more like, oh, it's on there looking like, could it reject and go up though on the 30? How small are we going to go? We'll do 15. We'll finish on the 5. Okay. So what I'm seeing on the 15 is that we could be getting rejected here to then go down. We're already underneath the 200 moving average. If we jump up and use that as support instead of resistance, then it's more upward momentum. But if this pushes it down, which it does look like on the RSI, then that's where I'm seeing it's either we're touching back here like 25.6 or it's pushing us down to 24. And again, if it just hovers throughout Sunday, maybe when the market opens on Monday, that could be the thing that pushes us to that leg down before we like solidify our bottom, if you know what I mean. Like we're getting pushed down, then we're moving into the bottom energy. It should finish that off, then get ready for like its spring, if that's going down. And then we're not going on a 1 minute, but the 5 minute. Okay, it's kind of, oh, what's nice to see obviously is getting supported by Mercury and Pluto here, but we are underneath the 200 moving average on the 5 minutes as well as Uranus. So this could easily just knock it down, just that last leg. So keep that in mind for Bitcoin. It's like, it's either we're touching base at, was it 25, 6 again, or we're wicking down to 24. That literally could be a huge possibility, you know, and that we'll confirm that with the DXY, because if that is making them type of moves, then crypto could be doing that as well. Let's move on to XRP. XRP's in there, here's he. Again, I was so gassed. I was like, how are we picking up? Like, it's a wild that the world stage gave this signal. Like, it's wild. And not only that, but as I was looking at the daily for XRP, even the 200 moving average, like we were here, it's like we're so far extended from it, but it looks like, because we've just crossed, it also looks like this is the beginning of kind of what it wants to do. It's like this is just its first jump up for something. So has it fully finished what it's doing? Yeah, has it fully finished what it's doing? And this is where, with the retrogrades again, because we've had a fall, maybe when we enter the retrograde and we finish here, so it's here for XRP. Let's just put the line on the 15th of Sep. Remember, we do have like the whole shadow period that can last 2 weeks, so we are technically kind of already in it. And I'm wondering if there's potentially going to be a recovery, hiya lovely, to the 15th, the 14th, like out of the retrograde. And we do have 2 weeks after, so it could still be recovering after that, or in the shadow period it could be retracing. Like, we don't know, we're just going to explore. But what am I seeing here, and why do I find it interesting? So this is super messy, and I feel I'm going to clear the chart maybe next week. I got a new chart up, and that's where I was showing the retrogrades. Oh, but where did I save it? You see, I didn't save it. Anyway, like I did, but I can't remember which one it is. Like this one's Bitfin X. So it was something else, but I can't remember which one. So this red trend line is something I'm finding interesting, because I had this drawn for time and it was just there. Price hit 1, 2, 3, and it's come back to it a 4th time. So this is interesting, and I'm actually going to just extend that further, because we never know if price may come back to this place. And also I like the fact it went back and touched the 200 moving average. Not only that, but it went and wicked to find that support. Like, okay, it's going down to fully test this. We do have this older trend line as well that it did kind of wick past to, but it's Mercury and Pluto. It went down, wicked off it, found like, okay, that's support, and it's come up, but it found proper support round about here, which is on that trend line. If you notice, this is a zone, so I'm wondering, could we get rejected here? Could that push us further down? Could this area, the 54 cents, could it push us further down? It can come true, you know. It can come true. And I'm not sure. We want to see if it's going to get rejected off this area or not. Looking at the RSI, and of course, if Bitcoin is too, it could pull it down again. And the RSI on the daily, will it kind of get rejected off the 30 and make a little point down to then go up? I'm not sure. We'll look on the smaller time frames, but if you see just on the line, you can see the volume of price. So even though it wicked here, which is nice, it's nice to kind of see the volume of it has just wicked off this trend line so nicely, and the 200 moving average. Let's take a look on the smaller time frames to see what's going on. Okay, on the 4 hour, it's looking healthy. It's looking maybe like a slight reversal for a bit, but it is looking healthy. We're no longer oversold, which is nice to see. But as you can see, we are getting met with this resistance. So it's what is going to happen here. Can we break through it, or are we getting pushed down slightly, because we are underneath Pluto, Mercury and Uranus, and of course far under the 200 moving average. Okay, so looking here, it's looking like on the RSI, like we're getting slightly, kind of like a double top. So this is telling me there may be some resistance here, potentially. Maybe slight resistance before going on up. Could we get pushed back down to this again before continuing up? I don't know. I feel when it's fallen so low, and when it's fallen so low, it's best to look at the smaller time frames to see what it could be doing in the immediate. But just looking at it like this, we could easily make a double bottom and then continue up, or it kind of just goes up, you know what I mean? I have seen that happen before as well. So just going on to the 30, yeah, it looks like we're obviously at the top on the 30-minute. So we are kind of not overbought, but we are closer to the overbought region. So this is why rejection could happen from this point. 15 and 5. Oh, okay. So it's nice to see this, but again, it looks like we've reached the top on the 15 minutes. So there is a little retracement happening now, but it is nice to see that we are being supported by the 200 here on the 15. But going to the 5. Okay. So again, on the 5-minute for the immediate future, which is now, it's nice that price is being supported by the 200. And it's also nice that Pluto and Mercury are above Uranus. So that, to me, may be an indication for upward movement. So that, as I was saying, this could be the bottom. There may be some double bottoms happening, like it could really test that out, but I am seeing we're finalizing the bottom here. If we fall past 51, then we could be going down. Like if we do fall past 51, then we could be and definitely past 50, because then that's telling me we are below all of these, which is just downward movement. As you can see, the RSI has come down to this zone. Is it respecting it because it bounced off it here? Will it bounce off it on this 5-minute and then continue to break past this resistance? I'm not sure. Let's see. But just on the 5-minute is looking like reversal. But let's take a look ultimately now at the DXY, because that is what it's going against. And yeah, let's take a look. Excuse me. So, in the wrong way. The DXY. So it made that extra leg up, didn't it? It made that leg up. And I find it interesting that on the RSI, it's actually above it. So this is where price was on the RSI. But as it, even though price is the same level, it's the exact same level, but its relative strength index is higher, which is telling me that even though it is where it's at, it's not say heavily overbought, but it's getting to the overbought region on the daily. Where is it on the weekly? Let's take a look on the weekly for this one. So I've not done weekly for a minute. Okay, and looking at the weekly, interesting. It's kind of looking like the dollar is getting ready to fully be rejected now. So this is why I go back to my potential theory of having a, maybe if it doesn't finish, like during the retrograde, during Mercury retrograde, there's potentially some upward momentum, because weekly what I'm seeing here is it looks like we're getting ready to be rejected off this area, not to just keep going. It would be a bit strange to just keep going, like like what's going on basically. It needs to do something. It needs to do something. And again, it's like price on the weekly was up here, but the RSI, like it's here, it's like the RSI, even though the price is lower, it's like the same size here. So this is why another indication. I'm like, oh, is a rejection going to happen on the DXY? Like, are we going to get rejected from here? It really looks like it. We have gone above the 200 moving average though. Yes, we've gone above it, and there's also a potential for kind of like that to curve and this to just continue, and then price just goes up. Like, that is a possibility. Or we collapse through and the 200 moving average and this crosses over. So it's either like this is going to curve. If the dollar just does one mad thing and just keeps going up, like if it does, then the 200 moving average will curve. But if not, these two will cross maybe during this retrograde, and this will come down. Yes, it will just come down basically. Like, yeah, and this is where it may come down lower than this point. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. We'll go smaller, smaller, smaller. Yeah. So the market obviously is going to open on Monday tonight. And I don't know, on this, not say I don't know, on this 4-hour, it just looks like it can extend a little more. So I'm wondering, what is it? Is it really trying to just hit its head? Mercury and Pluto have crossed. Uranus is underneath it. So that is sign like for continuation upward, even if it just holds it for a little bit. I kind of want to see it crossing on the opposite way, like downward momentum, really. Because if not, this could just... So even on the hourly, it still looks like price is ready to be pushed up a bit more. I'm seeing when this market opens, oh my days, the Brummy accent's really coming out now, isn't it? But we've had a cross here of Pluto and Uranus. Price is being supported by the 200 on the hour. So it's kind of looking like just this zone. It really depends what happens here. We could get rejected off this area, which will bring us down, or it's going to continue supporting. That's why it's like, let's take a look at the smaller ones to see if it changed. No, it still looks like support. But here it does look like it could be ending that support as well. Last it's just supporting it. It's like price is trying to go down, but these are kind of keeping it there. It goes under it, it's keeping it there even more. But I feel the most that could happen with this is like, yeah, if you look at that, it's like even on the 5-minute, it wants to go up that little bit more. Prices come, no, the moving averages, they've come to support this brief price movement. So what I'm kind of basically seeing, let's just go back to the daily. This could easily just try to go up that little bit more, you know. Not a lot, like looking on the daily, it probably won't be as high as it is, but stalling out before getting retraced down. And ultimately, maybe after a few days, I'd like to see what happens with these crossings, because that will tell us on a bigger scale. But just looking at the RSI, it's seeming likely that we're wanting to come down. Yes, and that potentially, maybe this is as the DXY is just finishing whatever it's doing up here before it's ready to, you know, come down on the RSI. This is potentially when prices just for Bitcoin and stuff, they're finishing off their bottom, even as we probably move into next week. But as I says, because we are in a Mercury retrograde, this energy could be something that propels us back up a little bit. It could propel us back up a bit, basically. And as the DXY is ready to fill this out, essentially, it's hit the top as it's ready to fill that out, because we are still on a downward trend. We haven't created a higher high, so it is coming down. It is coming down. So this is where I'm seeing crypto getting ready to reach its moving averages again, because when it overextends the opposite way, just looking a bit at Bitcoin, it wants to catch up back with it, if you know what I mean. So because it's overextended even from this is why there could be that wick down. But then it's too overextended, if you know what I'm trying to say. But I think I've been talking a lot and my words are getting mumble jumbled up now in my head. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here with the whole energies. Anyway, we're going to be finishing off our bottom, and there's potentially during this Mercury retrograde, because we've had a lot of downward momentum, there could be recovery in Mercury retrograde now, from the past that I've seen. So maybe next week when I find the chart, I'll be a bit more prepared. I'll show you what I've back tested, but I haven't. I can't remember the chart name, and I'm not gonna do it whilst I'm recording. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. If anyone's seen this or anyone's seen anything different, because sometimes, you know, not feedback, but just reflection, and to speak to someone about this would be helpful. If they're seeing anything different, we can talk, you know, because I feel it's helpful. But I'm going to be keeping an eye on anything that is announced on the world stage. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the numbers and all that. If you did like that, if that was interesting, then stick around. But anyway, with that being said, that's the end of this Crypto Angles podcast, and I'll see you next week for Crypto Angles podcast number 22. Wow, 22 weeks. And for those who don't know, I do offer readings based off the visible sky. I always forget to say this, and I know I've been putting this out on YouTube, but by the end of summer it will stop. It will probably only come out monthly, and it will come out weekly on my Patreon, because as I says, this is my art, you know. I put work in my calendar, so I'm only kind of putting it out there for a while. So take advantage of it, you know. But anyway, with that being said, I'll see you next week. Angel out. Bye.